Hello readers, I'm Amy and today we're going to talk about reading books according to the weather. This idea was actually inspired by a comment by Hillary from Melted Books in one of her last videos. She just mentioned reading according to the weather, and being a mood reader, I feel like that's what I'm starting to do the last couple of years. Like, depending on the weather, I've read certain books. So I just want to talk a little bit about the different moods I'm in throughout the year, how that tailors my reading, and give some recommendations for different times in the year if you, like me, struggle with taking part in readathons and reading challenges because you see a book and you're like, that's what I want to read and I can't get myself to read anything else. So we're going to go ahead and start with early winter, say around January. You've got, at least in my area, there's snow, and I'm one of those weirdos that actually really likes winter and snow. Not driving in it, but I like seeing the crisp, clean landscape, and whenever the sun's out, the snow is all sparkly and glittery, and I just want to sit next to the window and stare at it, or maybe go out sledding. So let's say you come back from sledding and the snow outside your window is all glittery and you're snuggled up with your blanket. January is also the new year. You're kind of starting fresh with your reading year. And this, I think, tends to be the time of year that I'm willing to experiment a little bit more. So some of the reading challenges that I do actually try to do every year is expand my reading with different genres or reading from countries that I haven't read from in a little bit. So January is kind of for experimenting for me, and for that I have Black Cake. This is a release from this year. I actually got this on like a half-off discount at a local bookstore, and while this book has intrigued me with its summary, because it has to do with like a recipe for black cake that these siblings find, I know just from the cover, like this is a gorgeous cover, but these styles of covers tend to be on literary fiction, and that on its own makes me a little bit nervous about reading it because literary fiction isn't really my genre. But that said, in the new year, I do like to experiment a little more, kind of expand my horizons, see how my tastes might have changed, so I can see curling up next to a snowy window on a sunny day and giving this one a try. So some of these books I've read before and some of these I haven't. This is one of those that I haven't, but it's one that I'm looking forward to picking up in the new year. Next up, we've got spring. So I'm thinking like sometime around March when it's really early spring, the leaves are starting to come out, you've got new life, spring has sprung, maybe love is in the air. That's when I think I'm going to start picking up romance books more. So I'm not a huge romance reader, but I am enjoying romance, meaning that I like romance books, but can we keep the romance to the romance genre, because I don't care about reading it in other genres. But in probably March, springtime-ish, early spring, I think that Book Lovers could be a really good book to pick up around that time. This is one that I haven't read yet, but I haven't heard a single bad thing about it. I am looking forward to reading this, but this being November, like I'm not quite in the mood yet, but I think around March, this could be a really great book to pick up, get me ready for the new spring, get me headed into summer. It feels like that kind of book. Like, it feels like something fresh to get me out of the winter mood. Next up, you've got like late spring, early summer. This is when I start to get into some of my more serious reading. Summer is a project time for me. So here in Montana, summer is when we're actually getting good weather. You can go out and get things done. So that's kind of when I like to start taking on projects. And in that mood, I would say that late spring, early summer is when I'll start reading a little more nonfiction. Ideally, I would read nonfiction during Nonfiction November, but traditionally that doesn't really happen with me. I think I read most of my nonfiction in like early summer. So for that, I'm going to recommend Selfish, Shallow, and Self-Absorbed. This is 16 writers on the decision not to have kids. I myself don't want to have kids. We made that official with a surgery that I had last year. And if you are like-minded in that you don't want to have kids, or you're considering not having kids, and you have those annoying people in your life who are constantly questioning your decisions about your life, this could be a good one to pick up. This is a series of essays, and most essay collections and short stories I'm not usually super into, because you have those really strong stories mixed in with some of the really weak stories. Most of these collections end up being like 3 stars, which is a good rating, but generally I want to try and pick up more 4 and 5 stars. This essay selection was a 5-star read for me. I do believe I have a standalone review of it somewhere on my channel, but would highly recommend this. It's fairly short, great essays, great conversation starter, not too heavy of a book, so I think it's a great way to get the summer started and project season. And now that summer's gotten started, the weather's warm, you're getting some of your projects out of the way, one of my favorite things to do this summer was that we have a bench sitting out on our porch. And now I've got the nice cushion for the bench, and I've got the pillows and everything. I can kind of watch the people go by but still be at home and not really interacting. And that's just been a really fun activity for me to just read on the porch. A little bit of a breeze, a little bit of a sunshine, not directly in the way of anything. It's one of my favorite spots to sit. Even now in the colder weather, I'll take a blanket out on the porch and read there. But with summer, I feel like either I'll sit down with a really long, fantasy book, or I want to read something short so I can, get it over with and move on to another project, and then pick up a book and move on to a project, that sort of thing. So I think what a nice recommendation would be for this is Isaac Asimov's Galactic Empire series. I'm just now about to finish up the Robots series, finally, because that's 6 or 7 books. But the Galactic Empire series is 3 really short books, but it is a collective series, so I think that this would kind of give me something longer to read because it is a series, while only having to read it in short parts, which would be nice. This is a series of books that I have not read yet. So, like I said, I'm almost done with Robots. Then I've got this, which I'll probably read next summer, I'm thinking. And then I still have the Foundation series to read after that. But yeah, this would be nice. Something short for summer, but I still feel like I'm getting a continuation of something and I don't have to concentrate on a bunch of different books at once. Maybe. That sounds good to me. And after the summer, we have early fall. Now, we all have that friend who starts celebrating Christmas on October 1st. I'm the person who starts celebrating spooky season June 15th, August 1st-ish. So early fall, we're not quite into spooky season yet, but you can just see the crispiness of the air on the horizon. Maybe the leaves are starting to go a little bit yellow. And for easing into spooky season without being in spooky season yet, I think that Magic Lessons could be a great recommendation for that time of year. This is the 3rd book in the Practical Magic series. I just got the 4th one, so I'm hopefully going to pick that up soon. But not only does this gold cover just really make it feel fall, but it's historical fiction, which feels like a very fall thing. It's about witches, which can ease you into spooky season, but it's also not really specific to any particular time of year. So I think that this would just be a great way to get ready to ease into September, October, start some of your witchier reading without going full-on spooktacular. But as for full-on spooktacular, when we get to September, October, want to recommend The Invited. Here I am recommending a book I haven't read yet. Leanne from Literary Diversions had recommended this book in a recent video, so I went ahead and bought it. I'm probably going to read it in the next couple weeks because I'm super excited for this, even though October is done now. But The Invited is about a woman who fills her house with things that she finds from thrifting and antiquing, and in going out antiquing and picking up these antiques and using them to decorate her house, she actually ends up building her own haunted house, which sounds like the most amazing haunted house setup ever. So I can't wait to see what happens in this. I'm hoping it's multiple haunted objects. Yeah, very excited for this. Recommend it. I'm probably also going to buddy read this with one of my friends because she thinks she also has a copy of it. So looking forward to that. Buddy reads are great for any time of year, but I think buddy reads are especially great when you're getting into the spooky fall cozier seasons, like second half of the year. I feel like that's a really great time to curl up and read a book with a friend. And now we come to kind of the weird mood that I'm in right now, where it's November and I'm not ready to let go of spooky season yet, but my brain is also like, I want to read a classic, but I want to read something spooky, but I want to read something classic. So I'm like, haunted house, Jane Austen, haunted house, Jane Austen. I don't know. My brain can't seem to make up its mind. But I did a book haul, my last video, and I talked about picking up Jane Austen and the haunted house books, and also some Daphne du Maurier, and I realized I think Daphne du Maurier would be a great way to kind of meet both needs of my reading mood right now. So I have Daphne du Maurier and The Breaking Point. The Breaking Point is one of the shorter du Maurier books that I picked up in that haul, so I think it would be a good, like, in-between spooky season and cozy season sort of read. Daphne du Maurier tends to be really gothic and kind of spooky vibes, but she is a classic author, so in that, I think she's gonna kind of help me get through this weird point. So I've got my spooky books, I'm transitioning into cozy, and this is going to be that meeting point between the two. So I will probably pick this up in the next week or so. I'm pretty excited. I finally got to expand my du Maurier collection again. Hopefully someday I will have read all of her stuff. There's not a single book that's disappointed me so far. And then to finish off the year, I've decided it's the year of Jane Austen. When we get into late November, December, that's when cozy season really hits me. I want to turn on my electric fireplace, I want to see it snowing out the window, I want to drink my hot chocolate and read a classic. And for whatever reason, Jane Austen has been on my mind this last couple months. Like, this is the year that I am going to read all of Jane Austen. I've only read 3 of her books so far, that being Emma, Pride and Prejudice, and Northanger Abbey. Pride and Prejudice was the first Jane Austen I ever read because I'd seen the Keira Knightley version of the movie so much that I was familiar with the story, and that familiarity helped me get started with Jane Austen's writing. So I might start with Pride and Prejudice again because it can take me a little bit to ease into her more classic style of writing. But Emma was definitely my favorite of the 3 that I read, so that's why I'm holding up this one for the recommendation. Yeah, that is going to be my pile of books that I recommend for reading throughout the year. We've got a pretty good stack here. So please comment down below if you have certain books that you like to read throughout the year. Tell me what you think of my picks. If your mood is different throughout the year, please like, subscribe, be my friend on social media, and I will see all of you in my next video. Bye, friends.